So you might have seen the news drop the other day that during Modern Warfare 4's upcoming beta, that we're going to get access to a brand new Warzone Resurgence map and a single-player mission. That's kind of unprecedented for Call of Duty. I can't remember them ever doing that before. Warzone's new Zodiac Resurgence map will be set live on the second weekend of the beta, which is the open portion of the beta, so everyone will be able to play it. And you're also going to be able to play the Entrenched campaign mission across both weekends. Now, that's pretty awesome, because you're going to get a chance to play some elements of Modern Warfare 4 that previously I don't think we were really expecting to play. But there is one glaring omission now from the beta, considering the rest of the entire product will be available for you to play at some point. You've got single-player, multiplayer, and Warzone now. The omission is DMZ, Modern Warfare 4's third mode. We've already seen a, well, I guess you could call it semi-reveal of this new DMZ mode from a couple of months back, gameplay from a tactical helmet cam perspective, and a bunch of information on how the team has taken learnings from the current DMZ beta from Modern Warfare 2 and other extraction shooters on the market, and created a more complete extraction experience this time around. But we are still yet to see proper first-person perspective gameplay, and seemingly there's not going to be a chance to do that in the upcoming beta. Now, personally, I think that Infinity Ward, they're taking a bit of a risk here. They've made it publicly known that this time around they've actually made a proper extraction shooter. They've really put in the time to produce something that they believe can compete on the market, but the reveal of it has been minus the key element, actually seeing how it plays. Now, there's a couple of reasons why I think the Infinity Ward team might be doing this. First of all, we'll go with the most obvious one. They have already released a lot of information about the game mode, including the development of a proper economy system for the game, where looting items is actually meaningful, that you need to do that to progress your characters. You're going to use items that you find in Raid to craft stuff, including backpacks, armor vests, kill streaks, weapons, and even more. All of that is going to be happening in a dedicated hideout called the FOB, the Forward Operating Base. And here you'll have a 3D printer, which can be used in combination with different recipes to build the items that you want or need. And you'll also have access to a gunsmith to build and purchase weapons by using cash that you've collected and extracted from the Hajin exclusion zone. There's also an entire morality system built into DMZ this time around. Players are going to have the option to take on the role of a killer or a bounty hunter, and then there will be leaderboards tied into that mechanic that reward players for their continued actions. Each operator will also have their own separate progression path in the form of a talent tree called the trait system, and this is going to work similarly to Arc Raiders, where your character can be spec'd out to specialize in different areas of the game, such as improving your mobility or your movement, or you can expand your looting abilities or refine your combat characteristics. And then, of course, there's the whole world of DMZ itself in the Hajin exclusion zone. It's a bespoke map that's been created for the mode jointly by the DMZ and the single-player teams that weaves the Modern Warfare 4 narrative directly into the game mode, and that creates a hard link between the story, the single-player campaign, and giving you a reason for why things are happening here in the DMZ. Now, of course, all of this is already known information, and I think it's core information that Extraction fans will have wanted to know already. Perhaps Infinity Ward is happy leaving things at that currently, and then letting players get hands-on with other core elements of the Modern Warfare product, like the multiplayer. And that's then going to go a ways to informing how DMZ is going to play. So, for example, movement and gunplay mechanics in the multiplayer will almost certainly transfer directly across to the DMZ mode, just as they have in the past for Warzone, and just as they did for the DMZ beta that was tied to Modern Warfare 2. However, the risk, I think, here is that so far, all of this is kind of just words on paper. Yes, we did see those 5 minutes of quote-unquote gameplay, but that didn't really go into any sort of depth on elements that have been detailed since the reveal. We've got the information, we just don't have the context to apply that information to. Honestly, I do think the beta would have been an ideal place to do this, giving millions of potential players the chance to experience this new version of DMZ, even if it was limited in scope because it's a beta and you don't want to give everything away. Look at what the team is doing with the single player, giving players just one mission to play from the campaign. That's just a little taster of what's to come. Maybe just a small portion of the DMZ map could have been playable, just a couple of missions added to that all players get access to almost a bit like a demo or a tutorial. I don't know. Like I said, I can see why Infinity Ward is keeping DMZ out of the Modern Warfare 4 beta, but also at the same time, is there a better moment than now to showcase what work has been done to produce a proper extraction mode for Call of Duty? I'm not sure there is. I was going to mention, actually, that perhaps another reason why Infinity Ward is keeping DMZ gameplay under wraps might be to save from spoilers. We already know that the story of DMZ, the narrative of the mode, picks up after the events of the single-player campaign in Modern Warfare 4, leading to potential for the entire story to be ruined if there are clues and pointers within the world itself. So that does hold some weight, but that's until you remember that Infinity Ward for the first time is having the single-player mission as part of their beta offering, giving everyone a chance to play before the game even launches. So I think that theory of not wanting to spoil the narrative is somewhat out of the window now. Having said all that, though, there is some defense, I think, to the strategy that Infinity Ward appears to be going with, almost protecting DMZ by deliberately keeping it separate from reveals of other elements of Modern Warfare 4. The team has described DMZ as essentially being a game within a game within Modern Warfare 4, and this version of DMZ is the one they always wanted to create, but simply didn't have the time or the resources to do it for the DMZ beta that launched with Modern Warfare 2. So perhaps by not having DMZ in the beta, separating it out completely, they're keeping it under wraps for a separate, true gameplay reveal later down the line. I mean, they kind of already did this, just without the gameplay, making DMZ their headline feature of their initial reveal of Modern Warfare 4 back a couple of months ago now. We didn't really hear much about the single player and the multiplayer at that point. The team deliberately chose to separate the single player and multiplayer from DMZ, and it seems like they might be doing the same thing again now. A tweet actually went out yesterday from Detonated that said that DMZ will not be shown at COD Next, which is happening next week, by the way, and instead, COD Next is going to be focused on multiplayer and Warzone, and then of course the beta goes live the moment that COD Next finishes. But the tweet goes on to say that a separate reveal will happen after the beta is over, with plenty of information for DMZ, most likely in late September. So if that report is true, DMZ getting its own full reveal much closer to the launch of Modern Warfare 4, I kind of think that tells its own story. Infinity Ward is being extremely protective of DMZ this time around, and wants to properly control the narrative around the mode and how the mode is perceived. And I think this comes from the fact that they believe they've built something quite special. I was lucky enough to attend the behind closed doors briefing on DMZ 2 weeks before it was revealed, and the developers in that briefing spoke like they'd really lived and breathed the development of it. Joe Seacott and Jeffrey Smith were the two guys who ran the briefing on DMZ. They were the ones who worked on the DMZ beta last time, and it seemed like they really knew intimately the product that they were creating. It feels a little bit like how Warzone was held in high regard for Modern Warfare 2019, although a completely different scenario because almost nobody knew Warzone was coming until just a week or so before it launched in March 2020. The way it was guarded by Infinity Ward felt to me like they knew they had something special happening. And it kind of feels like that this time around with this new version of DMZ. Of course, we know this new DMZ is coming already, but the messaging and the marketing around the mode has so far felt very deliberate and feels quite separate from the rest of Modern Warfare 4, just how Warzone in the beginning felt like a separate element of Modern Warfare 2019. Of course, it went on to have an absolutely generational run and did indeed become separate to the main Call of Duty product. It kind of remains to be seen what's going to happen with DMZ here. And that's actually something that I want to touch on because I've seen a lot of people discussing it, DMZ being part of the paid Modern Warfare 4 product, because it sort of goes directly against everything I've just said about DMZ being treated differently to other aspects of Modern Warfare 4. It's still going to be intrinsically linked under the $70 purchase for Modern Warfare 4. DMZ is the paid third mode of this game, a bit like Zombies is the paid third mode of Treyarch games. Now, opinions on this direction are mixed, but I kind of think that everyone is sort of right here. $70 is a lot for access to an extraction game mode, in 2026, with most others on the market sitting around like the $30 to $50 range. But having it be part of the paid product is likely to protect it from some other major issues that we've seen with large free-to-play offerings from other titles, mainly the impact of cheaters and potentially the stuffing of those game modes with the ever more egregious microtransactions and ways to extract cash from players like elevated battle passes and paid bonus tiers. I think in general, the gaming industry is kind of moving away from these massive free-to-play entry points into their products, a bit like Warzone for Call of Duty, and you've got RedSec for Battlefield. I think they'll still exist. I just think there's going to be less emphasis and less pressure on them moving forwards, and that's in part, I think, because there's been an increase in competition in the general entertainment space. There's so many streaming platforms out there now, so many activities that you can subscribe to that are competing for your time alongside gaming. So companies simply can't justify massive spend on their products without a guarantee of seeing a return. And with a free-to-play entry, there is no guarantee that someone's actually going to spend money once they start playing the game. They have free will. They can choose not to go into the store and not buy anything if they don't want to. And then there's also the global cost of living crisis, the massive increases in RAM and storage costs, and the rise of AI as well. And all of those directly impact the gaming industry. Companies now are actively seeking for other ways to get money from consumers because the current traditional methods, which are just selling you embellished cosmetic items for your games and then selling you new gaming hardware every 5 years, that's becoming more and more expensive to do. So what's the solution? Well, you just return to the old way of doing things. Sell you a video game. But because everything is now more expensive, you increase the price. Guaranteed income over potential income. And I think DMZ might be one of the first products that we see taken in by this because it's included in the paid product, whereas previously, I think it would have been released as a free-to-play offering. And then later this year, I think GTA 6 is going to be tested by this new same method. This is why I think Infinity Ward is taking a big risk with DMZ. Firstly, they're holding all of their cards close to their chest, not really letting you know what the mode is like yet. Secondly, establishing DMZ as a game within a game, and then charging $70 for it. And third, it entering the market at a time of extreme unaffordability because all these companies are shifting around and consumers are being expected to follow that move. Time is going to tell if DMZ turns out to be a success, but I think there are far more variables resting on its success this time than with Infinity's last breakout star, which was Warzone.